Questions?
I have a question from the Flower Ornament scripture, the Avataṃsaka.
All right, I'll do my best.
So, in page 592, although this phrase appears throughout the scripture a lot, so this is in the 10 dedications, being described as a number of minds that bodhisattvas take on, enlightening beings take on when they're in the practice of dedication, of giving, generosity. And one of those minds is that they give with a mind in control of the senses. And this is amidst a number of other minds, like giving with a mind of great faith, giving with a mind at every step attaining immeasurable detachment, and then give with a mind in control of the senses. So that phrase is repeated throughout the scripture a number of times, and I have ideas of what it could mean, but I was wondering what...
What are your ideas?
Well, the first main one was about control over the reactions and desires that may arise from the senses. So that would be like the most obvious.
Have you seen that meme where a guy's walking down the sidewalk with his girlfriend and he's passed on the left by a very attractive woman and he turns around to look at her?
Yeah. Very popular format.
Yeah, very popular meme. Yeah, something like that.
Okay, well, that was one, but then there's many other ways that that's put, so I wasn't sure if that was getting at that. But it could be just as simple as that.
I think it's just as simple as that.
Okay. Then I have a second question about another phrase that's used in the Avataṃsaka, but more broadly in different traditions of Buddhism, Zen Buddhism, Tibetan Buddhism, and its branches, which is the metaphor of mirror-like awareness.
Yeah.
So I've thought about this, I don't know what you'd call it, formulation, a bunch of times, and I have some trouble understanding it.
Yeah, that metaphor gave me trouble for like 5 years. I struggled with that one.
Yeah, because there's a few ways that it does make sense to me.
Okay,
or maybe a way or two. So the first one is literally on the nature of light, which is interesting. So when I look at anything, some surfaces are extremely reflective, so it's obvious, like a mirror is obviously mirror-like. I mean, yeah.
Right.
Like a round glass ball or like a metal that's not very matte, highly reflective. You can literally see, or like a TV screen that's turned off, you can see that light bounces back and forth. But even things that are, that absorb light really well, you can tell that they're reflecting light all the time. Like your skin will change color, or a stone wall will change depending on what objects are in the room. If you put like a red object in front of it versus a green object in front of it. So everything at all times, this is just basic physics understanding of light, is reflecting everything else. So that's one way that the mind and all of this stuff is definitely mirror-like. But I don't know if that's really what they're getting at.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I know, because I spent years trying to approach it from that angle.
Yeah.
What else you got?
Well, so then the second thing would be kind of like, on the channel you have posted that, the intro to Don Miguel Ruiz's, for the Four Agreements, where it's called the Smoky Mirror. And this is kind of described in different Zen Buddhist sayings and different teachings, is kind of like if your mind, when it's filled with all sorts of preconceptions, ideas of what the truth might be, imaginations, thoughts of the future, and memories, blah, blah, blah. It's kind of like smudges on a mucked up mirror. And the more you polish and clean that away, the more you can reflect whatever the reality is that's actually occurring. So a simple thing would be you're walking down the street, somebody cuts you off, you have all these preconceptions, ideas, you get angry at them, you're like, that guy's a jerk, he must be a moron, idiot. Clearly, some of those are projections. Some of it might be legitimate. He might have been unaware of the situation, but there's a lot more you can get out of that and reflect from the reality of the situation than he's an idiot, he doesn't know what he's doing, which is kind of like your mirror is all smudged up. And to realize the real nature of the situation or other...
Which uses that metaphor, smoky mirror?
Yeah, so the smoky mirror, the way he does it is like... It's hard to describe. He has it as like there's a bunch of smoke in between, like a mitote, a fog in between us and others.
Okay, well, that's going to be different than the Buddhist or the Zen.
Right. I'm just saying that's another way that I was thinking about it is like you have a mirror, if it has all these smudges on it, which are fixed and get in the way of letting the mirror reflect what's actually there, for example. And that as a metaphor for the mind, if you have these, preconceptions, ideas, and whatnot. And so that kind of made sense, but I don't know if that's really what they're getting at either.
I don't think so.
Yeah. So I have trouble with that one.
Well, remember that the Sutra was written in the 1st and 2nd centuries. And the Zen metaphors are occurring, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th centuries. And they don't have things like televisions or movie screens. All right, so that's important. Why they would choose the mirror as the metaphor. And the nature of the mirror is such that this is my... just my opinion, you're going to have to do your own work on this. But the nature of the thing that I struggle with is why did they say glass instead of a mirror? Why did they talk about reflecting instead of transmitting, right? But I think the point is that, okay, let's say you have a mirror and it has a reflection of a knife fight in Argentina, as described by Borges.
Okay.
I mean, it's a really violent fight. There's all kinds of yelling and tumult, right? And it's all reflected in a mirror.
Okay.
And now something else is reflected in the mirror. It's a quiet stream going through a meadow, very, very quietly and smoothly. Maybe a few flowers are being carried down the stream, but it's silent and gentle, and you can barely even see that it's moving if it wasn't for the flowers that were drifting down the stream.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and then we see in this mirror a reflection of Buddhists doing an analytical debate, meditation and debate on, some of the analytical aspects of Buddhism.
Yeah.
You know how the Tibetan Buddhists, they get there, they slap their hands down, and I think they stomp their feet sometimes, and it's a big to-do, right?
Okay,
There's a lot of motion. Now, all three of those scenes, has the mirror changed?
No.
So that's what they mean. It's mirror-like awareness. It's an awareness that doesn't change. It reflects whatever's in front of it without reacting to it and without being changed by it and without even, just those two things. It's mirror-like awareness. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. The unchanging nature of the mirror is something that I had considered too. What always stumps me is that there's the mirror, and then there's something else besides the mirror that gets reflected in the mirror, which totally screws me up.
Yeah, and it did me too for like 5 years, and then just one day it pops into your mind that, wait a minute, the mirror is never changed.
Okay.
Regardless of what it reflects, regardless of what the awareness sees. I mean, awareness can watch the birth of a universe, the explosion of a star, the collapse of it into a black hole, massacres of hundreds of thousands of millions of people, and it's not affected at all. It's not affected by its contents, which is a very, very important thing to understand about awareness. It's pristine. It's always pure, always innocent. Although, depending on how you want to formulate it, it is involved or not involved into all the things that occur in this cosmos. Depending on whether you want to use it a dual or a non-dual metaphor.
Right. I actually was thinking about that the other night as I was going to sleep. So this month I've been thinking a lot about and doing practices related to death, because it's not something that I had given much attention to previously.
Yeah, death is really important.
I can tell that now. I mean, it's always been said, but
because there is no death.
well, that's
There's nothing to die. There's nothing to die.
Yeah. So that's something. A couple times ago when we spoke, I don't know how long ago this was, months ago. I had a question with an assumption built in, which was about nothing. Like whether nothing, I forget what I asked, but it had the assumption that nothing was a possibility. Meaning, I don't really know how to describe this, like total absence of existence whatsoever. Or total absence of any.
That's one kind of absence. That's one kind of nothing.
Yeah. But the more I've thought about that, the more I don't think that's possible. Or if nothingness, period, is a possibility, it's not something that a human being can ever know or talk about except in the abstract.
If there were human beings.
If there were
human being is also a construction.
Right.
It's also an interdependent. Human beings are empty of human beingness. It's just a convention that we use for this collection of, I don't know, mammalian and primate cells mixed with bacterial cells and viruses and all the other gunk that makes up what we call the human.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So
and we can push that. We can push that in two directions. We can push it and make it more complex, like start adding tech to it. You know, eyeglasses and then neural nets and neural chips. And will we still call that human? Or we can subtract elements from it, and would we still call that human?
Right.
I mean, as it is, we have problems even seeing other humans. I've been reading a lot about the history of warfare recently, and one of the first things that happens is the enemy is seen as subhuman.
Yeah.
And we see that today, and along with the massacres that go with it. So even human, remember, it's an interdependent object which is conventionally described as human. The same thing with death, actually. When you look at death, you have brain death, But then you have a lot of tissues that are still alive, apparently, for quite a bit of time after your brain is dead. At least this is the way they're describing it now. And even with brain death, only parts of the brain die at the same time, and other parts don't. And then, of course, there's the life of all the other creatures that are living inside the human body, right?
Right.
And so, what are we going to? When do we declare death? But see, even that's wrong, because unless you're a materialist, which is hard to do these days, it's hard to be a materialist. But if you were you'd have to be a materialist to talk about the death of a human. You'd have to like listen to, what's his name, that guy Hoffman.
Dustin Hoffman.
No.
Oh, sorry.
Dustin Hoffman. I'm walking here.
Yeah.
I'm walking here. Or whatever. Right? That's
Donald Hoffman.
Donald Hoffman.
Donald.
Yeah. You'd have to disregard all of his, conclusions. Not that they're necessary, but, just because they're current, you'd have to disregard all that. You'd have to really believe literally in a physical world made of physical objects, made of components that were not reducible any further. You'd have to believe all that before you could believe that a human would die.
Yeah.
Or that, do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yep. So, okay.
Yeah. So along those, I came to the same conclusions in the past couple of weeks when I've been thinking a lot more about death. Which made the whole reincarnation thing make a lot more sense why people would believe in that. Reincarnation still has the problem of time, like you've mentioned many times before, but in terms of
technically time, but also yes and no, because if you're outside of time and outside of space, then you could believe, as some people do, that there's only the eternal present, the nunc stans, and the present is all there is. And that the way they formulate it is that God experiences every living creature that's ever lived, that's living or ever will live, all in one instant. I was going to say instant of time, but that wouldn't make any sense, right?
Right. Yeah.
So
no,
it's
but yeah,
all at once, and that time and space are just the elaborations, or the what's the word? The epiphenomena or something like that the human mind needs in order to experience at this level of abstraction.
Mm-hmm.
So not epiphenomena, there's another word for it. It'll come to me. So, it's not really a problem with reincarnation. You just have to, but if you're going to do it, you have to, if you're going to do it that way, then you might as well say, yes, I will live every human life, every animal life, maybe even every plant life that ever exists now, or ever will exist. I will experience them all. Which, for God, is not that big a deal. No, it's really not, because we have a very puny. We think in terms of ones and tens,
right.
maybe 20s, but God thinks in trillions, more stars than grains of sand on every beach on the planet Earth.
No, yeah.
And those are just stars; those aren't planets. And then an uncountable number of galaxies too. So for God, it's no big deal. For the human, it's an impossible deal.
Yeah, that's why I laughed, because that seems, when I look at it like a human, that seems pretty outrageous and kind of scary too. But also, I don't know.
Well, it's outside of time. You wouldn't experience it as a human.
Right, right. So, well, actually, so I was thinking about all this and the and how death wouldn't really be death the arbitrary way we conceive it. And when I come up against this, I thought, okay, well, then there must have been something there. Let's say like there was a Big Bang the way um, these physicists and cosmologists are modeling it today.
Before we go to that, let me just say something. Maybe the audience would benefit from this. To say that we die would be like saying that a dream character. Let's say you go to sleep and you dream of some character there in the dream, but then you wake up. Would you say that the character that you dreamt died, or would you say that you woke up and it just vanished because it was never there in the first place? Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So by analogy, you could say, that this world is a dream. Yeah. This is just an analogy, a metaphor, because it's not a dream and it's not a simulation of the way people think. But you wouldn't say that the dream character or the trees or the town in your dream, they all died when you woke up. You just wouldn't say anything at all because they were never there in the first place. Mm-hmm. In any real sense of the word. But go ahead, now go to Big Bang.
Oh, well, so when I think about something like the Big Bang, and then I think, well, there's no Big Bang if there's not consciousness, if there's not something aware of a Big Bang. And like you said, to consciousness, Big C.
Well, let's not mix things up, because the Big Bang is a theoretical construct.
Right.
It's obviously horribly, tragically limited because for one thing, it doesn't account for even a millionth of a second before the Big Bang, right?
Right, right.
It's completely silent on what preceded the Big Bang. So when we talk about things like this, we have to remember that we're just talking about ideas in people's minds.
Right.
We're not literally describing anything. It's like black holes, right? We're not literally describing something that literally exists.
Right.
We're describing our model of the universe, and because this universe is so devastatingly mysterious and bewildering, without these models or something like them, we're completely lost. We have no idea when we are. We have no idea where we are, and it's just like we're just dropped in the middle of nowhere without any coordinates. So of course our scientists are going to make up a story, our religionists are going to make up a story, our mythologists are going to make up a story, and then everybody else is going to make up some kind of story, something to give some kind of structure to something that doesn't have that kind of structure per se.
Right.
All right. And I think that as I get older, it's easier to see, look, this is a theoretical construct. That's all it is, and that's all it could be. The fact that some scientists mistake it for reality is their problem,
Yeah.
They need to go to confession or something, or go talk to somebody real.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But it's not everybody's problem.
Yeah. No, it does. I mean, agreed, because it doesn't even make. Yeah, like you said, it doesn't account for anything before the supposed
Big Bang. It makes as much sense as Genesis.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Actually, Genesis may make a little more sense because at least there's some explanation of how something arose from nothing. Right.
Yeah, they've got a God there before.
Yeah, in science they don't have anything, right?
Yes.
Poor guys.
At least,
but the jig's up, the gig's up, because with the turn of the new century, people aren't satisfied with that anymore. And with quantum mechanics and not being unable to unify it with gravity, it's like, oh man, we're going to have to start all over.
Mm-hmm.
And we are.
Yeah. So basically, that was all to say that I get this thing, and I don't put much stock in it because I don't think it's really, well, I shouldn't judge, but it doesn't seem like a big deal. It just seems like a sort of ego thing. When I think of some living thing that is enormous enough, powerful enough to make the whole universe and possibly other universes, if you want to go multiverse theory like David Deutsch or something. When I really think about something that, I don't know how to describe, powerful, immense, I get like the same kind of fear sensation that people get when they look at the ocean and it's really big, or if you see like a,
fear of God.
Yeah, it's like I looked it up and people call it like gigantophobia. So like if I think of I had a vision when I was going to sleep the other night of like an alien that was 1,000 times bigger than the Earth, just holding the Earth in the palm of its hands. And I was like an observer in space looking at it. And when I saw that, I felt like a pit in my stomach, just terrified. And then when I think of something that's trillions, quadrillion, like you can't even put a number on how much bigger than that. It just, I guess it was like fear of God. I don't know.
What's that song? He's got the whole world in his hand. He's got the whole world. Do you know that song?
Maybe. I don't recognize it.
He's got me and you, sister, in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands. I can't sing, obviously. Yeah, it's a very common song. At least it was when I was growing up. He's got the whole world in his hands.
Maybe if I played it, I'd recognize. But now,
play it. Just ask it something to play it.
Okay. Well, so what is it? He's got the whole
world in his hands.
Here's by Laureate. Does that sound not familiar?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, yeah.
And then he's got you and me, brother, in his hands, you and me, sister. Yeah, he's got everything in his hands. So, yeah, you could think of an alien if you wanted, or you could think of Jesus if you wanted, or you could think of the Madonna if you wanted, or you could think of yourself in another form if you wanted. The universe is, it looks big to us primates, measuring things out with, yardsticks and speed of light and things like that. But that's all made up. The size is all relative. Einstein taught us that.
Yeah.
It's completely relative. And the size of your mind, especially once you learn to that you don't have to set boundaries on it, is quite capable of encompassing the universe. Right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And this is one of the things that happens with deeper understanding, is you realize that you understand what they mean in the Sutra when they talk about the Buddhas encompassing the universe, right? Yeah.
In the last chapter on the channel, there's a lot of descriptions of the Buddhas having a tongue that it can lay over the whole universe, or its hand.
Absolutely.
Covers. Yeah.
Absolutely. And so one of the concepts that liberation will liberate you from is the notion of absolute size.
Mm-hmm.
And see, once you're truly free of that concept, that construct, not in a silly way, actually more in the way of Einstein, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then you're free to explore the nature of this cosmos with a much wider range of perspectives.
Right.
I mean, you could even go to Wolfram's Ruliad, right? Or to anything you'd like. So the point is that okay, so your mind thought of something to scare you with, right?
Yeah.
But the mind loves to do that because the mind loves to create problems.
Right.
I mean, that's kind of its whole shtick, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you get freer of your mind, and you can just watch it like you watch everything else, the trees and the birds and the clouds and the grass, or the rivers or whatever, other people, and you see that your mind is just one more object in consciousness. It's not consciousness itself. And also, it has a hell of a lot less to do with you than you think.
Mm-hmm.
And so once you've freed those things up, and that's what the Sutra is good for, and that's what Zen is very good at, then if your mind tries to scare you, you just say, aren't you silly or something? You go, look at that. Here you go again. You've been doing this since I was a kid. Now you're going to try and do it again. I'm sorry, dude. I've outgrown you.
Right.
You outgrow your mind, basically, in a manner of speaking. But the mind is always going to come in. It loves that. So it loves the trauma. It just does. Look at any movie. Look at any book. It's just full of problems that have to be, how's he going to make it out of this without getting killed?
Yeah.
That's what our mind feeds on.
Yeah.
And that's okay. Just don't take it seriously.
I have a couple questions about dreams, dream interpretation.
Okay.
So I have been taking dream interpretation more seriously for the past couple weeks. I go to bed, I'll write down my dream. That's what I started doing at first, is just writing down dreams. I've been doing that for a while. But then I would get up first thing in the morning after writing down the dream, sit down and then try to make sense of it. And the first multiple times I did that, felt like I was just getting nowhere. I was like, yeah, this could mean 100 different things. This element could be whatever. A couple days ago, I had the first dream where it's a weird sensation where the interpretation kind of clicked. I sat down, it took 40 minutes or something, and I just kept running through what each of the things could possibly mean, associations, things that occurred during the day or the past week. And then it was like an intuitive sensation of, oh, that makes a lot of sense, that this is what it means. And I know that there's, a dream can have plenty different interpretations, but I don't know. There's just some feeling that it clicks where it's like, oh, this is one thing that it definitely does mean. Yes.
Okay. So what's the question?
So getting some facility with that. My questions are about practice or praxis. So the first one is about interpreting dream sequences versus a whole dream. So I'll have a dream that if I write it all out, it'll be 2 pages long or whatever, and all these sorts of things happen. But it all seems to be connected in one a plot or something. I know there's no hard and fast rules with this, but would one big dream sequence, and then there usually if it switches to something else, there will be a dark period, and it'll feel like a new dream. The dreams feel like there's definite breaks in between them. Does it make sense to interpret a whole dream together as one big sequence, or could there be separate interpretations within that dream?
Well, it depends on what you're doing. Are you studying dreams? Or are you trying to get insight? Or are you trying to figure out how they can help you in your regular life? I mean, it all depends on what you're doing, what you want, how you want to analyze them, and how much you want to put into it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, I think the more important thing, frankly, it took me decades to understand this, is what feeling is in the dream. Once you have that, you have most all of it.
Okay.
Right? And the problem with interpreting your own dreams is that it's your own unconscious, that you're trying to get to. And if you were able to get to it consciously, then you wouldn't need to disguise it as a dream. So, it all depends on what you want to do with it.
Okay, so then two things. The first is...
it's a lot like the I Ching, right? Or it's a lot like any other, or a lot like a Rorschach. You can interpret it literally many, 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 many different ways.
Mm-hmm.
How you choose to interpret it, you got to be careful, because sometimes it'll be the one that's least traumatic for the conscious mind.
Okay.
Or the most traumatic for the conscious mind. Who knows? But your dreams are scrambled, and some of them, some of it is just, you're not going to make it intelligible.
Mm-hmm.
Or you're going to make it intelligible, but you can always make anything intelligible if you spend enough time on it. The other problem is that it's really focusing on yourself and your mind, right?
Okay.
And who knows how healthy that is.
Okay.
It depends on what you're doing. Lucid dreaming, I think, is more useful, probably, because then you have some notion of being able to move around in a different kind of space. But are you using the AIs for your dream interpretation also?
I did I've done it for some of them, and I did it for one the other day. And it's okay, but I find that they lack a lot of context for my associations.
Correct. So what is the feeling?
Uh-huh.
The AI can't understand the feeling. Only you can understand the feeling. The emotional coloring. And that's probably the most important part.
Mm-hmm.
Were you afraid, or were you, enlivened?
Right.
Were you brave, or were you scared? Were you hungry, or were you satiated? Were you horny, or were you, fulfilled, or something, whatever? I'd go more towards the midbrain than I would towards the cortex for a lot of this stuff, frankly.
Meaning?
The emotional content.
Right.
Not the details.
Yeah.
Now, you can always do that, and that's fun. There's nothing wrong with it, but I'd consider it more like a hobby.
Mm-hmm.
And dreams do come to help. So, sometimes, absolutely, but it's the emotion, I think. When I say hobby, I'm not denigrating it. I'm saying, for me, science is a hobby now, right?
Yeah.
All you can do is enjoy it. You can't really get much traction there anymore at the moment, unless you just want to study the models and enjoy the models, right?
Right. Okay.
But it's not going to match up with reality. And so dreams are so... You're talking about your dreams when you're asleep, right?
Mm-hmm.
What about this dream? The one you're having right now?
Mm-hmm.
That's the one I think that's where the money is, frankly.
Okay.
But you're talking to an old psychiatrist, so I may be a little jaded.
Okay.
But I really adore Freud and Jung. Both of them made major contributions. And both of them could be useful in therapy, I suppose. But that's because it gives the therapist and the client something to talk about and to explore together. And then together they create a new world. That's a lot of what therapy is, right?
Mm-hmm. You
replace one model of the world with a new one. But they're both models of the world.
Right.
And if I had to say my favorite forms of therapy, this is a lot closer to what I consider the good stuff than a lot of the cognitive crap that's come out, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that's me, right? And I'm from the 20th century. This is the 21st century. I mean, just contemplate for a moment what the world is dreaming right now. And the affect of the world right now. But, you know, I mean, you can do both.
Is such a is that like even something you could think about before, I don't know, the 20th or 19th century? Like, we can think about the affect of the world because I can learn about the whole world, and I really feel like it's what's it called? An anxious period. But in the year 1300, how could you possibly know the affect of the world's dream?
Well, you just had a smaller world.
That's what I mean.
Yeah. I mean, there was anxiety in the 60s during the Cold War. Right?
Definitely.
We all thought we were going to get blown to smithereens by nuclear bombs because we just dropped a couple of them. Right?
Yeah.
So, but it was a smaller world. Back then it was just Russia and the United States. Turns out the whole thing was more or less bogus. The Russians didn't have nearly the weaponry we thought they did. And the whole space race and all that stuff. At any rate, my point is this is it. Sure, you could get the noosphere has existed longer than tech has. But there were smaller worlds.
Okay, yeah.
I suppose. I mean, there are fewer people, for one thing. And they were probably a little bit slower because it took a long time to get across the ocean or send a message across the ocean.
So if my reading of the affect of the world might be, well, of course, I guess it would be biased. I live in New York City, in a pretty hectic area of the city too. It's very loud, noisy, high energy, a lot of anxious people, a lot of
course.
people in need around.
If you took mice or rats and put them in a highly, you could put them in kind of like rats. This has been done, rat cities that are more or less crowded.
Mm-hmm.
And guess what happens if you crowd them in there?
Well, that's actually
it's not good.
It's actually not very funny. Yeah.
Yeah. So well, in a way, it's funny.
Yeah.
They also give them cocaine. You know that, right? They just start doing cocaine till they drop dead. And you give them booze, and they've done all this stuff, by the way. And interesting with the alcohol, they get blasted out of their minds, and then the next day they don't drink anything. They just drink water, and they just kind of like move around very slowly. And then they have another party a few days later. So they have these parties where they all get together in the central cage,
right? And
they all get blasted, and then they get hung over, and they don't want to do it for a while. Unlike cocaine, where they just keep going until they croak. So anyway, yeah. So you have a bunch of primates, in the city we call New York.
Yeah.
And the structures have held somewhat, but they don't permeate the whole city. There are parts of the city where the structures aren't imparted to the young. Right?
Where they're what to the young?
Where the young don't learn the rules of civilization.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Well, that's going to have a price, right?
Yeah, it already has prices in certain
if you
pockets.
don't take care of your kids, don't be surprised if your kids grow up to be little monsters.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
Yeah, it'd be good if you can. A lot of New Yorkers don't like being outside of New York, right? They can't even, the idea of moving gives them an anxiety attack because they're really hooked on it, right?
No, I'm moving very soon.
Okay, but tell me if I'm not correct that For some New Yorkers, the idea of moving is unthinkable.
Oh, even for I've wanted to move since I got here, and I still feel that. It kind of grabs you.
Yeah, it does. You become habituated to it.
Yeah.
Addicted to it. Addicted to that level of freneticism. Is that a word?
It's definitely a word, but I don't know what I forget.
So at any rate, so yeah, so
yeah.
You would be very surprised if there was not significant. You'd be surprised if there was not significant psychopathology.
Yeah, yeah.
But New York is not the world,
right?
And that's something that New Yorkers sometimes forget. It's kind of like what LA and San Francisco.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But New York is man. New York is in its own special category. But I'm sure Istanbul was the same way at one point, right?
Of course.
And so questions about any of that?
Well, I have a new question.
All right.
About so I've been going through the Tales of the Dervishes, that book by Idris Shah, teaching tales of the Sufi masters from the past 1,000 years.
Yeah, that's a good book.
And I just read another tale the other day, reiterating the essential point of timing in the Sufi formulation.
Time is everything. Time is everything.
Right. And then the short Sufi saying on timing is that there are times where everything can be done, there are times where nothing can be done, and there are times where some things can be done.
Correct. They put them in a different order, but okay.
Oh, I messed up the order. What's the order they do?
And then they put them in a different order, and then at the end they say, let me think here. I think they say something along the lines, wisdom is knowing to tell the difference, knowing how to tell the difference. There's a time when some things can be done. There are times when everything can be done, when nothing can be done. And there are times when everything can be done. The beginning of wisdom or something like that is to be able to tell the difference.
So I guess I can't exactly ask about when those different times are, but I can say that, like, I've noticed that sometimes feel very, what would you call, like, fortunate, or things just seem to be going right. It's kind of like
that's according with the way.
Yeah, like things just, I don't know, turn out better than they would. And other times it's like, one example is with, well, this is a mundane example, so this, you tell me if this is just like off base, but there's some exercises I've been doing, and there are sometimes I do them and it's like endurance to like hold a certain pose as long as I can or whatever, like a plank or something. Not exactly like that, but you know. And sometimes I'll do it on like a Tuesday, 2 p.m. or whatever, and I can hold it, let's say, for a minute. And then on like a Friday, same time, 2 p.m., I can hold it for 2 times, 3 times as long. Everything else feels basically the same. I just like feel very good. It's very weird. No, it didn't get like better sleep, didn't get whatever, as far as I can tell. And I'm just doing better. Or like my relationships with other people.
Friday, for God's sake. Of course you're doing better.
Oh, right, right. Or like, for example, yeah, well, yeah. But my point pretty much is like, there are times when you can tell things are just going really well. Your relationships with other people are just really, really good or something. And then there's other times where it's not that way. It seems like many, many things are going wrong.
And so when things are like in the latter case, you may not want to pile a bunch of stuff on top of that because already the signs are pointed in the wrong direction. So you're patient.
Right. So my question is about reading those signs and then doing what, because you don't know how long a time will last. So basically in this Sufi story, this guy's timing's totally off. He's very unfortunate for multiple years straight. And then his timing flips and he's able to be given something like a responsibility that he wasn't given before, because if he was given it before in this wrong timing, he would have screwed everything up, or everything would have been screwed up.
It was too immature. Okay, yeah. Those are skills you cultivate over a lifetime.
Uh-huh.
I think, what did Jesus say? He said, do not pile the worries of a year onto a day. Oh, no, that's somebody else. He said, sufficient to the day is the evil thereof.
Right. I never really understood that.
That's why Jesus is revered as a teacher in addition to everything else. Sufficient to the day is the evil thereof. So just keep these in mind. And so this is the beginning of wisdom. Right now, you have to live a life, and as you live this life, you'll learn more and more and more. That's the whole point of life, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so then you'll begin to see that there's periodicities within periodicities.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And there's periodicities that encompass both of those periodicities.
Right.
And here sometimes the I Ching, the book of change, can be helpful. If you're just conscious of it, being conscious of it is half the battle.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And sincerely wondering is trying to sort it out and say, well, how much of this has to do with my mind and my mood and my environment? Or how much of it has to do with the people around me? Or how much of it has to do with what particular song came on the radio 5 minutes ago?
Yeah.
And so you basically you live and learn.
Right.
And what the Sufis do is, for example, and the Daoists, is they give you a structure, a time-tested one, in which to remember it.
Right.
And there's no greater teacher in this particular method of teaching than Nasrudin, the Mulla Nasrudin.
Oh, then that can be my last question if you have time.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do the last one.
Okay, is about Nasrudin. Nasrudin, big fan of Nasrudin, but also Nasrudin is one of my biggest points of frustration. And I think I've asked this question maybe a couple times now, but I always get the feeling with Nasrudin that I'm studying Nasrudin wrong. Because one, I feel, what's it called? Because I don't feel like I've read most of the Nasrudin jokes I feel I've read like 4 or 5 times now. And I still feel like I'm on the basic level of understanding for the vast majority of them.
That could be true. It depends on the story. And remember, these are things like, remember when he went to the bathhouse and they gave him the skimpy little towels and no, a little, barely a piece of soap.
Yeah, I remember.
They treated him like he was garbage. And he left a huge tip when he left.
Yep.
All right. And then he came, and so I guess I won't finish the story, or maybe I should I finish the story or not finish the story? No, I'm not going to finish it. But suffice it to say, he came back to the bathhouse, and that all of it makes sense. So that's what I mean by you have to live too. Some of these are not going to be unlocked except by life. Mm-hmm. Seriously. You'll see yourself as the monkey with your hand in the jar and you can't let it go. You can't let go of the cherry.
Yeah.
You'll find occasions where you're eating your money. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know how else to put it. they don't really unfold for you until you see yourself in exactly that situation or someone else in this exact same situation. And then they're fully unfolded. But again, these are not cheap jokes. I mean, some of them are funny as hell right from the get-go. These are designed to stay with you for a lifetime and, quite frankly, to be transmitted. Because people aren't lucky enough to have the books, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you will transmit some. I will transmit some. Even Shaw transmitted some. This is a human treasure. And Nasrudin is not exclusively a Sufi teacher either. Right?
Right.
I mean, these are jokes are all over the Middle East. So these are little pieces of wisdom, and it's incumbent upon you to absorb what you can and certainly spread. I mean, God knows we need all the help we can get, right? Humanity?
Yeah.
All right, so next time you find yourself eating your money, you'll be more likely to be able to stop, perhaps.
Right. Right.
Or not. Who knows? You'll see.
Yeah.
All right, sir. Anything else?
Well, I was going to spend this month on, I'm spending this month with a heavy emphasis on death, so contemplating death. And I was just curious if you had any recommendations. I've been visiting cemeteries. I've been going through Kathleen MacDonald's analytical meditations on the point, my own meditations on the point, contemplations. But
I think the best is to really sit down and imagine your own death,
mm-hmm.
and what comes after, and how much control you have on your death, when it is or how it will be, and then begin to just contemplate seriously for yourself, like your life depends on it, what comes after.
Got it.
All right?
All right.
Okay, compadre. Nice talking to you. Take good care. Sounds like you're doing well.
Yep. Yeah. Thank you.
Good. Take care, man.
Bye-bye.